Well, welcome back to another Waynos Photos video, and we're talking about the Blazar Remus anomorphic lenses once again. But this time it's not some test footage that I'm putting up, first initial looks. This is a review of using them in the real world on a job, and this one was a wedding for a couple that had a beach wedding. And the Blazar Remus, for the people who have not seen my other videos, this is what they look like here. This is the 65mm one. They come in a free set box set. And the boxes you can just see back here in the corner. It's an orange box like a Pelican case, but not a Pelican case, that the lenses come in, which is really handy to keep them in good condition. And you get three of the lenses. One is 100mm, one is a 65, and one is a 45, 1.5 stretch full frame. Now, the way I used them in this wedding, because it was a bit of a first time for me using a manual type focusing lenses, so I was a little bit tentative, and I didn't shoot the whole wedding in them, only parts of the wedding, because I was a little bit tentative about feeling them out and how to use them. And the two places I used them was in the beach settings. They had some fun. They were doing some antics on the beach, so I used it there. And I also used it for part of one of the cameras had on their ceremony. I used that right at the closing, and it's got bubbles and you get that bit of an anamorphic look. And also for the reception dancing, when they had the DJ playing, when you had the colored lights and everything like that. And that's where they work the best, when we had that lighting and you had people jumping around, you got lots of flares and you got lots of that anamorphic waterfall bokeh. So what we're going to do is going to jump in, we're going to have a look at the footage. Now the beach shots we have here, you can see probably don't look that different, but if you look in a little bit of the background, it does have a little bit of that waterfall effect. I do believe I was using the 45mm on the beach, and they were just playing around, and I was just using the color focus that you can set in the Canon cameras. The peaking, the square box peaking doesn't work when you don't have automatic lenses on the cameras, so you have to use the colors. You can set it to yellow, blue, or red. I had it on blue, and as it comes into focus, you get that tinge of blue around the item that's in focus, and that's how I used them. I had the camera in 100 frames per second, so I was just pulling focus in and out, and basically just getting it on focus and just filming it in that slow motion. Because obviously a slow motion, as you pull the focus, it comes into focus. Now the focus is a lot slower, and it makes the footage a lot more usable. And of course for weddings, slow motion is like, you know, you save to make it all look elegant and beautiful. Now if we move to the ceremony, I did use it for the ceremony, and there's a couple of shots there that were on the anamorphic lens. It was the 100mm, but you don't see a lot of difference between the other lenses. I had it stopped down reasonably high because there was a lot of backlighting on it, and that's one of the points where the 100mm is a little bit weak. And the other one was just your normal spherical lens, 7200 and 85mm. But when we moved inside into the reception area, and I used them with the DJ lights and people dancing, and I also had like a crystal that I was putting in front of the lens that gave it even more effect of the lights flickering and light leaks and all that sort of stuff. They really shined. I really liked using them in that situation. They gave a really kind of euphoric view, that kind of like semi kind of real look. And you could see the bokeh and the waterfall, and the lights were flaring, and was getting the basically refraction in the lenses where you get the two lines coming like this along. Really looked good. And here's the footage here, so you can have a look at that, and you can see them flaring, and the colors of the DJ lights were flaring, not so much just the amber flare from the lenses, which was kind of cool, because I like the way these Blazar Remus don't have a lot of tint color in the flares. They are amber, but it's a very light amber, and if there's a dominating color that's the light, it'll take on that dominating color light, and that to me seems more realistic and more applicable to this type of application. Well, anyway, that's the Blazar Remus lenses. That's the 3 set of these lenses that come, and I'm pretty happy with them. The one thing I want to talk about that I found using them on for a few situations is the 100mm does have a bit of a weakness. Now, I don't know if this has got something to do with the coating on the lens or whatever, but the other lenses don't do it so much. And maybe it's why it looks the softest. I don't believe it's any softer than the other two lenses, which is the 65 and the 45, but it tends to have this kind of bloom that you get, which seems to be built into the lens. And even though it does look nice on some occasions, the disadvantage to that is sometimes it actually affects the image. So what I found is there was one time I was shooting across a lake because I was at this resort, and there was a lot of haze in the air because it was early morning, and that watery mist that you can see. And the lenses really picked, well, the 100mm really picked this up, and you couldn't see through it. Like if you looked with your own eye, you could see the trees across the lake, but with the lens, there was like this like white blotch in the photo that prevented you from seeing the trees on the side. It was a lot more opaque than it was in real life. And I found that this can be a problem. Also, when you get backlighting, sometimes it can look a bit too milky. It's just something to watch for on the 100mm. So that's just something that I find just can make that lens a little bit unusable, or maybe not usable in all of the situations that I probably would have liked to have used it in. But it does give a long focal length, and it does give some nice bokeh because obviously it compresses the image more. So it's one of those lenses where it's probably a little bit more specialty than the other two wider angle lenses. Well, anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to leave it today, and I'll just put on the footage up again for you to have another look. And that's where I'm going to leave it for these Blazar Remuses. And coming up soon will also be the LiDAR focus motor setup they're going to have on my RS3 Pro, which I've just managed to get working. And I used it on the 45mm, and that seemed pretty effective. So that video is coming up in the future. So make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you then, guys. It's Waynos Photos, cameras out.